Welcome to What's Up With That? With me, Rebecca, and Mev Monica.
Hello everyone. Rebecca, how are you?
I'm good. And you?
I am grateful and excited to be here today with all of you wonderful young people.
Sweet.
Rebecca, what are we going to talk about today?
Let me see. Looks like our topic today is Introduction to White Identity Formation.
Great topic. Are you ready to get started?
Yeah.
Rebecca, when you hear the word culture, what goes through your mind?
It's like how things are done, what's acceptable and what's not.
Can you give us an example?
Sure, an example is how we are dressed. We both have on what would be considered in U.S. culture as professional clothes.
Rebecca, what you described is an aspect of culture, which can be defined as a historically transmitted pattern of meanings embodied in symbols, a system of inherited conceptions expressed in symbolic forms by means of which people communicate, perpetuate, and develop their knowledge about, and attitudes toward life. Rebecca, does your faith community have a culture?
I have not thought about it before. Well, there is a certain dress code.
Can you give us an example?
Sure, people do not really dress up for service. And kids can wear pretty much anything.
So, one aspect of your faith community's culture is how people dress.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you think about race, what comes to mind?
Black people and white people.
Indeed, that is what many people think when they hear the term race. Are you okay?
I'm a little uncomfortable talking about race.
Rebecca, that is quite normal. In U.S. culture, talking about race, or anything related to race, historically has been avoided, or dismissed as causing trouble.
Rev Monica. Why? Why don't white people like to talk about race and racism?
Rebecca, perhaps it is because many white people see themselves as fair-minded. And they do not want to discuss things like why they avoid certain neighborhoods, or why they would discourage their children from dating or marrying someone who is not white, or why they prefer white doctors and other professionals including ministers. Does that make sense?
Oh, so it is like an avoidance thing.
Yes. Not talking about race is a privilege.
I had not thought of that.
Rebecca, you are not alone. Are you okay to continue?
Yeah.
Okay. Francois Bernier first employed the category of race, primarily denoting skin color, in 1684, for the purpose of classifying human bodies. The first authoritative racial division of humanity is found in the works of naturalist Carolus Linnaeus in 1735.
So dividing people by skin color was started by two white guys from Europe.
Yes. Additionally, Carolus Linnaeus attributed characteristics to each group. Would you like to guess which group he attributed positive characteristics to?
White people?
Yes.
Wow.
Indeed. Wow. This is hard stuff to talk about, huh?
Yes. It is.
Are you okay to continue?
Yeah.
Okay, Rebecca, when you hear the term ethnicity, what do you think?
I think it is the same as race.
You are not alone in thinking that. However, there is a difference. The term race was made up to characterize groups of people based on physical appearance, whereas ethnicity may be viewed as a primary bonding, an identification, and context of belonging, shared by groups with common language, behaviors, histories, lifestyles, values, and norms.
Can you give us an example of what you mean?
Yes. Race is used to group all people of Asian descent together. So people from Japan and people from Vietnam are called Asian, even though they have different languages, histories, and lifestyles. Does that make sense?
It does. It explains why people assume that if someone is speaking Spanish that they are Mexican, and that all people of Asian descent know karate.
Well said. Have you done any work related to your ethnic identity formation?
No. I don't have an ethnicity. I'm just white.
Do your parents talk about race or ethnicity with you?
No.
Perhaps the following 4 stages of white identity formation will be useful to you.
Okay.
The following 4 stages of identity formation are meant to be guidelines. They are not stagnant, but fluid. A person can remain at one stage, or move between stages during their lifetime. The value of the model is that it provides valuable information for white people to better understand their identity formation. The limitation of the model is that human beings are different, constantly evolving and changing, hence the model could be misused.
Sounds good.
The first stage is the pre-awareness stage. This stage is characterized by white people being unaware of the privileges of white skin, like fish not knowing they are in water. White people in the United States are indoctrinated not to notice the advantages and privileges of whiteness.
Is that like the things I take for granted?
Can you give us an example?
Like, when we have youth events at different congregations, I don't have to worry about someone mistaking me for the custodian or an outsider. Which happens to kids of color.
Has there been any conversation about the difference in treatment?
No, not really. But we will overhear adults say that it is not about color, because they did not notice the kid's color.
Rebecca, you bring up another aspect of white people in the pre-awareness stage. The belief that they do not see race or ethnicity, while their behavior toward other races and ethnicities is based on stereotypes about them. Does that make sense?
Rev Monica, it does. How do people learn about stereotypes?
Rebecca, people learn about stereotypes from many sources, like movies, books and TV.
Like, in a lot of movies, white people are heroes, and blacks and Latinos are portrayed as criminals.
That is a good example. Are you ready to go on to the second stage?
Yeah.
The second stage is the awareness, guilt stage. This stage is initiated by a personal encounter with a person of color, movie, or book that brings awareness of racism. Also, feelings of guilt, based on the oppression of historically marginalized ethnic groups, often surfaces, causing internal discomfort. Loyalty to whiteness is often questioned, which can cause conflict with family and friends.
So, that's like me noticing that kids of color are treated different than white kids. And a reason that adults will say they do not see color is because they feel guilty for seeing color, which they learned from the negative stuff about people of color on TV and in books.
Rebecca, I am impressed with your level of awareness and understanding.
Thanks, Rev Monica.
The next stage is the rejection, disengagement stage. The internal discomfort that surfaced in the previous stage is manifested by some white people believing that if they avoid contact with historically marginalized ethnic groups, they will feel better. Internal discomfort causes some white people to engage with people of color out of guilt or the need to feel good about themselves. Internal discomfort may also manifest by distancing oneself from whiteness.
Is that like why white people move to the suburbs?
Yes. That is one reason why some white people move to the suburbs.
And why white people who are working on their ethnic identity or on racism do not like to talk about it with their family and friends, who may ask if they hate themselves or love people of color more than white people.
Indeed, that is a fear that many white people live with. When they begin to question how people of color are treated compared to white people.
Rev Monica, how do white people distance themselves from whiteness?
Rebecca, that is a good question. One way is to see oneself as an individual instead of a member of a group. For example, identifying as white American or European American. By denying membership in a group, white people can deny the advantages passed on to them by the actions of members of their group. It is a lot to take in and process. Rebecca, are you okay to continue?
Yeah.
The fourth stage is the integration, re-engagement stage. In this stage, a healthy white identity is emerging, as is a willingness to be critical of white culture without guilt. Resistance and transformation of white privilege and systemic racism in collaboration with other white Americans and historically marginalized ethnic group members, is done with respect and accountability. There is awareness that moving back and forth between stages is normal.
Rev Monica, is this the stage where white people can become allies with people of color to end racism?
Yes, it is. It is also the stage that white Americans can work together as a collective to end racism and other oppressions. Not out of guilt, but out of the deep belief that each person has inherent worth and dignity. And out of respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part.
Like living our 7 UU principles.
Rebecca, amen to that. Do you have any questions?
No, I can't think of any.
Are you ready to fill out your Cummings identity map?
I'm excited to fill out my Cummings identity map so I can learn more about myself.
Rebecca, I love your positive attitude.
Rev Monica, thanks for being here today. Well, that's our show for today. Goodbye. And remember, you are not alone.